What is going on, guys? Well, I'm back today because I made a video a couple of days ago talking about something I'd always wanted to do on this channel, and that is do a Q&A with you guys. And like I said, kind of an old fart, so like I don't really know how YouTube Live works, and I don't really know how I would set something like that up. I really appreciate all of you out there who subscribe to me, and I really love hearing your input. It's really cool for me because I watch a lot of YouTube channels and I see a lot of people leave like one sentence comments, but you guys always leave these incredibly long, thought-provoking comments about film, and I just really appreciate the community over here. I really have some wonderful people that follow me, and you guys asked a lot of questions and a lot of really good questions, and I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I possibly can in this video, try to cover as many as I can. 100% willing to do a part 2 of this. If that's something you're interested in, if I didn't answer your question or you want to ask me something else, you could feel free to leave those comments. And if I get enough of them on this video, I'll make a part 2 here in the next couple of weeks and add it on. But let's jump into this because I have quite a few questions and I'm excited to get them answered. All right, so the first question I got on here is there a reason why you don't review more mainstream movies? It will increase your subscribers for sure, but if that's not the goal or you find that less interesting, all the more respect. So this is an interesting question because as far as like popular movies, I'm wondering what movies I didn't review this year that you guys wanted me to. Like, for instance, I have the top 10 highest grossing films that were all sequels this year. I saw Inside Out. I didn't see Deadpool and Wolverine. I couldn't care less about Despicable Me. I saw Dune Part 2. Didn't see Kung Fu Panda. Didn't see Godzilla vs. Kong, but I saw Beetlejuice. And I didn't see Venom, Bad Boys, or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I don't have any like true hesitation towards watching those movies. Like, as you can see, I saw some of them on the list. But for me, whenever I go to the theater and whenever I watch something, I'm watching it for me. Because funny enough, like I do this because I love engaging with you guys and I love reviewing movies and having conversations. But at the end of the day, I watch movies for me. Like I watch a lot of movies, but the reason why I mentioned this before, I started this channel because I have pretty bad mental health issues and I have pretty severe depression, and my comfort is film. That's what brings me joy. That's what gets me through to the day to day. So when I'm selecting movies to watch, I normally attempt to pick something that I would assume I'm going to enjoy. A lot of times you guys will be like, Nate, you haven't seen this yet. Like a lot of people badgered me about Madam Web and I hadn't watched it. And finally I'm like, you know what? What the hell? I'll cave and I'll watch it. But I never have any sort of like hesitation. And I will say, I know your comment said like it'll bring you more subscribers. A lot of the big movies I review, like whether that be like Disney or whatever, they typically get the least amount of views. I feel like it's so oversaturated in the market and so many people talk about those movies. My reviews don't do as well when I talk about the big name movies. The ones that do really well, the ones that I get like 10 to 20,000 views on, if not more, are the smaller movies in the independent film. Like one of my biggest reviews this year was for the film How to Have Sex, which was an independent film out of Europe, and I think that's surpassed like 20,000 views or something crazy. Like I never would have expected it to get that big, but those are the ones that typically do pretty well. Most of the big name movies don't get as many clicks, but I don't have any problem seeing all those. If you guys would like me to see more of those, I'm completely on board, but they don't normally get me the most views. This person's question is, what is my least favorite genre to review? Maybe there's a genre that recently keeps producing low quality scoring movies despite all hopes. This is an interesting question. I wouldn't say there's necessarily a specific genre that I dislike reviewing. I'll say like I'm really getting tired of legacy sequels and like superhero movies. I was a diehard comic book fan when I was growing up. Spider-Man was my favorite comic book hero. And I remember being a kid and like when the first Marvel movies came out, because you think I'm 34. So like I was there when Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies came out. I saw the original X-Men in the theater. I was excited when that jump happened. And just throughout the years, it's become more and more tiresome. I get really sick of them. Some of them I'll go and watch. Like I love the animated Spider-Verse films. I think they're beautiful. Really liked the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I love Matt Reeves' new Batman movie. Every once in a while, there are superhero movies, and I'm fine watching them. I just don't get excited for them anymore. Star Wars isn't necessarily a genre, but I'm kind of tired of the Star Wars content. I love the original trilogy. I like elements of the prequels, even though most of them suck. I liked The Force Awakens, but most of the new content, I thought the first season of The Mandalorian was excellent. But I just don't get excited about like those IPs anymore. They really kind of bore me. But as far as genres, I'm pretty open to watching everything. I mean, some of my favorite movies span across any sort of genre. I mean, I don't really like, I guess if there's one genre I don't like, obviously I'm not a believer or a Christian, so faith-based films, which were kind of pushed in my face a ton as a kid, I don't seek those out to watch them. But aside from that, I'm not really hesitant to any specific genres. I'm just kind of tired of existing IPs. 2025 plans for the channel. Yeah, so it's really interesting. Whenever I think about the YouTube channel and like how I'm gonna change things, I don't really have anything like super like out of the realm of normal. Every single year, I try to add something that I think is gonna compel viewers while also like doing something for me. So for instance, the A24 archive is a segment on the channel I started because I love A24 and I wanted an excuse to watch all of their movies. It seems to be very well received. Some of the movies don't get as much viewership as others, but it's fun for me. I love watching their content and I love getting to see their whole filmography. That's another reason why I started the Neon Spotlight, because Neon is getting incredibly popular. They have a very large catalog, so it's a reason for me to go back through. Same with the Criterion Corner. I love watching Criterion Collection films. I love doing like list videos. I love doing ranked lists. So I guess for me, I would ask you guys the question if there's something you'd like me to do, because I'm going to keep doing those things. But the reason why I do those is because I love them. I guess my plan for 2025 is to keep doing what I'm doing. Like my goal is to grow this thing. I want it to be as big as it possibly can, because the more people involved, the more fun the conversation is. And I know there's a lot of people who make content and they quit talking to people because it gets a little overwhelming. But my goal is to interact in some way, no matter how large this thing gets. And I enjoy doing it. So like, if you guys have something you'd really like to see me do in 2025, leave me a comment down below. I'm 100% open to suggestions. If I were to make a film at this point in my life with all resources necessary, what genre, any themes or topic you'd explore, any decade or time period it would be set in? So if I were to make a movie at this point, as far as genre, I feel like it would probably parallel a lot of the filmmakers that I really love. It would probably be something in like a David Lynch or Charlie Kaufman vein, probably something very surreal and abstract related to mental health issues, and that might dive into religious trauma, that would also have kind of a horror element to it. I feel like if any of you saw Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow this year, that's very much what I could see myself making. I was a child of the 90s. I probably would set it modern day, more than likely, more reflective of like where I'm at currently, something that's kind of semi-autobiographical, but done in a way that's through a lot of allegory and through a lot of visuals. I have a lot of ideas about that, but I always feel like they're really kind of out of the realm of what I could spend, and like I'd need someone to help me on that. But I constantly have a ton of ideas circulating. But I would say that it would be kind of more of like a heady, surreal movie with horror elements, and I would do everything I could to cast Anya Taylor-Joy, because she's a powerhouse, and I would love to work with her. There's a ton of actors and actresses I'd love to work with, but she's my number one right now. I'd love to be able to direct Anya Taylor-Joy in something. I just think that would be an amazing experience. This question is, in a perfect world, what would you like to see the channel become? And second, when are we hanging out? This is from one of my personal friends who I worked with for a really long time. Colin, thank you very much. But in a perfect world, what would I do with this channel? I would love to become someone that people see as like Chris Stuckman or Red Letter Media or something like that. I have a very big passion for this. I love it. Movies are my life. I spend so much time analytically processing film and breaking it down, and that's why I do a movie review a day. A lot of people say you don't have to do that, and I don't, but I do it because I love it, and I feel like it makes this thing easier to grow when you have a very large catalog of things for people to see. I try to cover a wide array of genres, but like the dream is if I could do this for a living, I would love it. Honestly, I would love to be able to do nothing but dedicate every single second of my life to film. That's what I want. And eventually, if I could do that, I'd love to do what like a Chris Stuckman has done and be able to make a movie because of all the support that you get. Because I live in Ohio. I don't live in like a big bustling film community, but I would love to be able to do that with my life. I think that would be incredibly amazing. Obviously, it's a long shot. I'm not even at 3,000 subscribers yet, but that doesn't mean I'm slowing down anytime soon. I love this. I have so much fun with it, and I can't wait for the future of whatever this holds. What is my most rewatched film, and what makes it enjoyable to rewatch? I've said this before a few times. I think my most rewatched film of all time is Hot Fuzz. I've watched Hot Fuzz probably over 20 times in my life, and I think there's a couple of reasons why it's my most rewatched movie. For starters, I love the performances, and I think the comedy is brilliant. That dark comedy that Edgar Wright kind of delves into is really like my favorite style of comedy. And I think like another reason why I love rewatching it is because it's why I fell in love with movies. I think the attention to detail and the editing and the production design and the performances and the cinematography, it reminds me why I love movies. And I rewatch it consistently, not only because it's fun to quote and it's really entertaining. There's always little details I pick up on that. And I think that that's what makes a movie rewatchable for me, is when it like holds some sort of value to me personally, and that on each and every rewatch I get something new out of it. And that's truly a movie that I know like the back of my hand, but regardless of knowing it like that, I still get a lot out of it when I watch it. Am I satisfied with the quality of movies streaming services have produced, new movies? I would say kind of a mixed bag, honestly. Because I always go back to Shudder. I love Shudder because of what they do for the horror community, and I think that they produce some really quality content, even when they have some lesser content. As far as Netflix is concerned, every now and again they'll have a movie that I think is really great. But I do feel like because those movies can often get churned out at a much lesser budget, that the production quality is not necessarily as good, and a lot of time the performances you get out of the actors aren't nearly as great. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these times it's not just like Netflix is like, let's make this movie. It's like they give money to people, or like they'll have contracts with people. Sometimes there's people that have it set up beforehand, but these production companies are oftentimes just getting money to help distribute films after they've seen part of the product. So I would say it depends on the streaming service. I don't think overall that it's bad. I think there's sometimes that there's some good quality content, but there has been, like, Prime Video puts out some really bad stuff. Some of their originals aren't very good. Netflix has had some real big stinkers over the past couple of years, but I think sometimes there's like some diamonds in the rough there. Every now and again, you'll find something that's really good. Would I ever do paid requests for movie reviews or video topics? I know a few channels that you could send them $5 or $10 for reviews or video topics. I would say as of this point in the channel, I probably wouldn't ask you guys to pay me money to make videos. I have about almost 3,000 of you out there that subscribe and watch my videos. Honestly, just ask. Right now, if you leave a comment on there, if that's something you want to see more of in 2025, I am willing to review movies that you guys want me to watch. Long form TV series are hard with the level I put content out. Watching an entire series of television, it's harder for me to like dedicate my time for that. But if you want me to watch an hour and a half, 3 hour movie and you want me to do a review on it, I'm not going to say no. Like, you guys always provide incredibly thoughtful commentary, and if you really have a movie that you very much want to hear my opinion, you can leave that in the comments of this too, and I will prioritize watching some of these movies sooner. I obviously can't necessarily get to every single one. If I ever got to the point where this was like 50,000, 100,000 and I had people asking me me to do movies every single week, I may resort to something like that to get to some priorities if it's something people want enough. But at this level, it's incredibly manageable for me to be able to watch movies that you guys want me to watch. It's not hard. Like, I watch a ton of new releases. I try my best to like fit in things that you guys want me to watch. I've taken some requests before, but yeah, if there's something you really want me to watch, leave it down below. If I ever got bigger, maybe that would be a thing. But like for right now, just ask me and I'll try to add it to my list as soon as possible. This question says, where do you live? Well, I'm not going to give you my exact address, but I live in Ohio. I've said it multiple times. I live in central Ohio. I've lived in Ohio my entire life. When I was younger, my family moved around a lot. I've lived in southern Ohio, northern Ohio, central Ohio. My family's here. It's not necessarily the greatest place on earth, but I call it home. Ohio doesn't have a whole lot to do, but I am an Ohio sports addict. I'm a huge like Cleveland Cavs, Browns, and Guardians fan. I go to a lot of sporting events for the Cleveland sports teams. We have some nice amusement parks. We have really good pizza. People don't really think of Ohio as like a pizza spot, but Central Ohio especially has some incredible pizza, like some really great, unique pizza out here. And yeah, I've been here my whole life, and everybody always says I look like Chris Stuckman, and we both live in Ohio. So we're not related, but we both live in Ohio. Is there any story I would want adapted as a film if it was done well, such as a true story, video game, book, short film, etc.? That's difficult. I mean, sometimes I sit back and I think about certain things that I would like to be adapted into film. But I'm always worried about what would happen. Like, I read Charlie Kaufman's book Antkind last year, or 2 years ago, and I would love to see Charlie try to make that into a movie, but I don't know how much of it would translate well, and I feel like it would be kind of difficult to stick the landing. One of my favorite authors in the world right now is a guy by the name of Christopher Triana. If you guys have not heard of him, he's kind of an extreme horror author, so his books can get very violent and disturbing, but they're always very thought-provoking and engaging. And he has a book called Gone to See the Riverman, which is about a woman who writes letters to a serial killer that's in jail, and he tells her to go back to where he grew up to get something for him. And it's one of the most psychologically disturbing but fascinating books I've ever read, and I would love to see a movie version of it or any of Chris's work. I think it would be very difficult because of some of the graphic imagery that's depicted, but like, I love challenging movies, and I read a lot of books that are very challenging, and I think that would be really cool. As far as video games, like, one of my favorite video games growing up, funny enough, was Kingdom Hearts, and I'm kind of surprised Disney's never tried to do anything with that. I don't necessarily know if I want that, because I feel like they'd probably bite off more than they could chew, probably come across as a little bit cornier than it should, but I would have fun with that. Think if like you could get, this is kind of funny, a little niche, but if you could get like a really like indie film director that makes like really slow burn movies that wanted to do like an adaptation of Stardew Valley. I'm a Stardew Valley nerd. I love that game. Like, I play it to alleviate my anxiety a lot. I think that would be a lot of fun too. But it's always difficult because with a lot of media that isn't associated with film, it can be difficult. I will say one of my favorite albums of all time by an artist named Ethel Cain, Hayden Anadonia, one of the most talented, incredible human beings alive. Her album is called Preacher's Daughter. I would love to see some kind of movie based on the story of Preacher's Daughter. I would love to be the person that does it. I would have so much fun doing that, because I would utilize a lot of like influence from films like Possession, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, a lot of really great imagery in that regard. But I'd love to see somebody take that story and turn it into a movie. I think that would be really great, honestly. Are there any movies that you have put off watching, just saving them for later? Like I did years ago. I was completing my IMDb's top 100, but The Godfather is still a movie for me to watch. Just like knowing that there's still a masterpiece that I haven't seen yet. Well, absolutely. I mean, there's a million movies that are on that list that I've never seen before. I mean, I've watched a ton of movies. I think like I've logged on Letterboxd, I've logged mostly everything I've ever watched in my life, and I'm like at 3,000 movies. So you think like there are a ton of movies out there I've never seen Apocalypse Now. I've never watched it. I've not really even had an interest in watching it. I'm going to watch it at some point because I know people love it. I've never seen 12 Angry Men. I've never seen Jean Dillman, which I know is an incredibly beloved film in the Criterion Collection. I haven't seen a lot of Kurosawa's work. I haven't seen a lot of Ozu's work. There's like a ton of directors that I have not seen any of their movies that are considered auteurs. I haven't seen every Bergman movie. Like, there are a ton of films that I think are considered classics that I've never watched. But as you said, with like putting off The Godfather, I watched the first Godfather the first time I think 2 years ago, and it's one of those things where it is cool to think that you have a movie out there that you've never seen that is a masterpiece. Like, I love knowing that eventually I'm going to get to something and be like, damn, I understand why people feel that way about that movie. But yeah, like I have a ton. Like, that's just a few that I just named. But I'm sure there's probably like over 200 movies that are considered critically acclaimed. I watched Rosemary's Baby for the first time this past year. Like, there are a ton of movies that I could put on that list for sure. It's snowing here in Canada, so winter holidays are on my mind. Are there any winter traditions you look forward to? My family makes brown sugar caramel toffee that hardens over snow and makes me happy every year. That is awesome. I love that. So I've talked about it before. My family situation in my life with like my parents, and it's very weird. So my family tradition has become very different over the years. It's very much about my partner and my brother and some other people in my life. So as far as winter goes, like, I don't have a ton of like straightforward traditions. I can tell you that I do really like Christmas music. Maybe it makes me a nerd, but like every year in December, like at least once or twice a day, I play Vince Guaraldi Trio's Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack. I watch Nightmare Before Christmas every year. I watch It's a Wonderful Life every year. There are a few movies that I watch every single year because they just mean a lot to me. When I try to grasp onto a lot of my happier childhood memories, I like to revisit film and listen to music that kind of recalls the really like happy and exciting times during my young adult life and when I was a kid even. And I would say like mostly it's my favorite kind of like pastime really. I cook, so I love cooking for my family, whatever that is, whether that's dessert. I like cooking a main course meal for everyone, and I love giving gifts to other people. Like, my favorite thing is like I like getting things. I think everybody likes getting gifts because it's exciting to see when people know you and like they're like, "Oh, I love you so much. I got you this thing." But I think my favorite thing about Christmas is seeing other people happy. Like, I love one of the reasons I do this. I hope that this brings joy to other people. I love like making other people happy because the world is an incredibly dour and sad place. And so to just see people have joy, I love taking time to buy gifts for people so that they can see that I care. And I think that that's my favorite part about the holidays overall. And then the last question on the list for today is, what are my favorite films from the 1970s? Well, the 1970s are enormous. I could go through a ton of movies. My favorite film of all time, probably from the 1970s, is Eraserhead. That's the movie that really kind of helped formulatively shape my ideas for what film is. I love Eraserhead. I love David Lynch. I think it is a masterpiece. For a movie released in 1977, I think that it's very ahead of its time. I love that movie quite a bit. I could make you a list of 20 or 30, but I'm just going to leave it at one today because we're almost at 30 minutes for this video. And I don't want to go for too long, but that's one of my favorite movies from the 70s is Eraserhead. Thank you all so much for your questions. I loved answering these. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'd love to do a part two. So if you guys had any questions that didn't get answered or more that you'd like me to answer, leave them in the comments down below and I'll get to more. For all of you new subscribers out there, first time to the channel, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I really look forward to growing this thing. I'm excited for 2025 and can't wait to bring you more. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.